Today, we're going to be talking about starts and sits for week 3. So, we're going to go through quarterbacks, running backs, receivers, and tight ends.
Hike!
So, starting off with the quarterbacks, Joe, who was your smash play of the week?
Yeah, for me, my smash play of the week is going to be Lamar Jackson. Kind of toying off of what me and Dustin were doing last week. Jackson's gets to face the Colts at home, and right now, they're the best quarterback matchup according to PFF strength of schedule. And they're coming off a week last week where C.J. Stroud, threw for 384 yards and was able to get 2 touchdowns. And then you even saw week 1. Trevor Lawrence and Calvin Ridley had great games as well.
Yeah, so trying to think about how we can compare this, Joe. Would you start Lamar over Tua? You love Tua. Going up against your Broncos. If you have both, it's possible you have both. Who would you start?
Man, it is tough. I think that's tough. I do think maybe I would start. I think I'd roll with Jackson. I think that's a better matchup, even though I'm not too happy with the Broncos defense right now. My also more concern is with the Dolphins, Raheem Mostert, I could see having a good game. Broncos haven't been able to stop the run thus far. And right now with the Ravens without Dobbins, I don't really trust that run game.
Okay, how about Justin Herbert against the Vikings? Vikings are a sieve at the pass defense.
Yeah, they are. That one I might go Herbert, just because I think that that's going to be more of a shootout game. I don't expect, the one thing last week with the Texans was that it was a pretty competitive game. They actually had to come back from behind in that, and I don't expect the Ravens to be down in this game. So it might take a little bit off of Jackson's performance, where the Chargers Vikings, man, that could just be a classic shootout with a lot of points, and I want a piece of that.
Okay, last one here. I believe the number 1 fantasy quarterback for most leagues,
Kirk
Cousins. Do you start Cousins or do you start Lamar?
If you got this scenario, I'd probably roll with Kirk Cousins.
Wow. So even though you think Lamar's going to smash, you still got a few guys ahead of him.
Yeah, just because in that game, you just, with the amount of points that are going to be scored, I think Lamar Jackson is going to smash. It's just a matter of those guys might actually be able to throw for more yards. But from just an efficiency portion, Lamar is still going to have a great game.
I'm with you, by the way. Colts cornerbacks are probably one of the worst in the league. I think Lamar has been somewhat underwhelming. I think a lot of people have expected him to really take a jump forward. I thought that this could happen with a new offensive coordinator with Todd Monken. It's not like things just switch overnight. Sometimes you need to get some oil, and kind of grease up the gears here to try to get things moving. So this is a cupcake matchup. I think Lamar is going to have his best week of the season.
Yeah, I started to see some, promising things last week. He had a really nice deep ball to Zay Flowers, and then he also really threw a nice ball to Aguilar for a touchdown in that game as well. So I started to see that pick up a little bit, and I think he carries that momentum this week against a bad Colts defense right now.
Well, my sleeper of the week then is quarterback Matthew Stafford. Bengals are, a top 5 fantasy-friendly defense for quarterbacks, so they have allowed a ton of fantasy points for quarterbacks. And look, the Rams have been competitive in every game. I did not think this was going to happen. I definitely am wrong here. And Stafford's in sync with his weapons. So with the Cincinnati Bengals, I don't believe Joe Burrow is going to play. That's my only thing is, could this be a blowout? I think the Rams could completely blow them out. But what running game do they have? They just traded away Cam Akers. I know they've got Kyren Williams, but he hasn't been the most efficient running back. He's just gotten a ton of volume. So for me, I like Stafford a lot. I think he's a good start this week.
Yeah, I don't mind it. Although doesn't have the best matchup with the Cincinnati Bengals, even though the offense have been struggling. Their defense is pretty good, but Stafford's been hot and playing a lot better than I thought, and Puka Nacua has been an absolute machine so far. But kind of to test things out here, are you starting Matthew Stafford over Geno this week?
Yeah, I am. Geno, I believe they're playing the Carolina Panthers. That's a decent matchup, but you saw they kind of shut down the Saints last week. So I think I'm going to go with the higher ceiling play, and I think that's Stafford.
Yeah, I think that's the right call. How about Deshaun Watson?
Oh, you can't trust Watson right now. One thing is, will their game plan shift with Nick Chubb now out for the year? That's the only question that we've got to figure out. Yeah, I'm not going to start him over him.
Yeah, I don't know if that helps or hurts Watson if they start passing it more. Even though I do think Jerome Ford could be capable to kind of shoulder load, but he's obviously no Nick Chubb. But yeah, I was just thinking about that. Like, is an increased passing volume in Watson going to be better or worse? I don't really know.
Good
But
point.
would you start Jared Goff over Matthew Stafford?
No. Well, I guess it depends. It depends on if Amon-Ra St. Brown is going to play. If he's not going to play, I have my concerns. Atlanta is a little bit of a stingy team. I kind of just like the matchup better. I'm surprised you say the Bengals are a good defense. From what I saw, they're allowing a lot of points for quarterbacks. So, I mean, it's not like they have the best secondary in the world.
No, they don't. But they still have a pretty good defensive line, and Chidobe Awuzie is coming back off that ACL injury. I think he's going to improve as the year goes on. Cam Taylor-Britt, the second-year player, they really like him. I think they've been decent, but in that scenario, I would definitely be starting Jared Goff over Matthew Stafford.
So going over to the stinker of the week, who do you have for that, Joe?
Yeah, unfortunately, it's Justin Fields, man. It's a guy I've had high hopes for. Really wanted him to take the next leap. There's still time he could, but just things aren't looking good from the play calling to him, and what the vibes in Chicago just aren't good, and he's really struggled, and things don't get any easier. Heading into Arrowhead this week, and the Chiefs, honestly, they've surprised me on the defensive side of the ball. Obviously, their offense, but their defense has been playing really well so far this year.
I'm with you. I'm not starting him at all. I actually think this could be kind of ugly. Chiefs have an under the radar type of defense, and sometimes their defense really like swarms the other team. This feels like this type of game. Bears are completely out of sync. They've got this, distraction. Honestly, with we don't know, but obviously the defensive coordinator for the Bears have been dismissed based on some legal issues. Fields is grumbling against his offensive coordinator. Things are spiraling right now in Chicago.
Yeah. They hugged it out today. It's all good.
We'll see about that.
Yeah.
So head over to the running backs. My splash play of the week is running back Jahmyr Gibbs. Dave Montgomery is likely going to be out for a few weeks due to that thigh injury that he has, and Amon-Ra St. Brown's banged up with a toe injury, and that toes can be nagging, those type of injuries. Gibbs did not have his best game against the Seahawks, but I expect a bounce back against the Falcons, and I think part of the reason why is he's just not able to get in a rhythm right now. He's just been spelling David Montgomery. He hasn't been getting a ton of snaps. Knowing what I'm saying now, watch Craig Reynolds gets like 10 snaps and he doesn't get as many. But I think from a volume standpoint, he could get a ton of targets with Amon-Ra out, and I think he's going to get a decent amount of rush volume. So I think this could be the week that Gibbs really takes off.
Yeah, I agree. I like Jahmyr Gibbs a lot this week, but for whatever reason, Dan Campbell, man, they really like Craig Reynolds. And I still think he could play some of that David Montgomery role and, even along the goal line. But even with that, I do like Jahmyr Gibbs. And like you said, especially if Amon-Ra is out, which is a good possibility with that turf toe. But going to some comparable players here, would you be starting Travis Etienne over Jahmyr Gibbs?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
Interesting.
I mean, Houston, I think, is okay. I don't think they're great as far as I'm aware from a run defense standpoint. I don't know. I think Gibbs has a better ceiling, and really we haven't seen a lot from Etienne this year.
Yeah, I would go Etienne. That
really,
yeah. They have one of the top on that PFF strength of schedule table that they got. Yeah. The Jaguars they're one of the top running back matchups against the Texans this week. So I think I'd start Etienne over Gibbs there. But how about Joe Mixon?
I think Mixon has a better floor, but I think that Gibbs has a higher ceiling. I'll take Gibbs.
Yeah, I agree. If you're chasing points this week, I would start Gibbs over Mixon as well. And the last one, how about Kyren Williams?
It's interesting, man. The Rams players, man, you've got Kyren Williams, you've got Puka Nacua, right? These guys, I'm seeing dynasty trades with these players, and it's like, what is going on? Like, people are giving away like a lot for these players. I'm like, it's only been 2 weeks. No, I appreciate the volume that he's been getting, but no, I'm going to go with Jahmyr Gibbs.
Yeah, I agree. Plus, I think the Bengals probably have a better run defense than their pass defense, so they could have a decent opportunity to slow down Kyren a little bit. So I agree with you there.
All right, Joe. So who is your sleeper at the running back position?
Yeah, my sleeper at the running back position, I'm gonna go with Tony Jones. A lot of it's simply just because he's the healthiest guy on that Saints roster right now. I understand that Kendre Miller, he might play, but he's also recovering from a hamstring injury. Jamal Williams left on Monday night. Tony Jones came in and scored 2 touchdowns. And then they got a really good matchup against the Packers so far. And I know, like you said, it's only been 2 weeks, but in those 2 weeks, they've allowed 333 rushing yards to the running back position and against the Bears and Falcons so far.
Yeah, see, I'm going to disagree with you on this. My sleeper would have been Kendre Miller. I think he is going to be active for the game. I think they like him a lot. I think the reason why Tony Jones got the volume that he did was because they didn't have anybody else, frankly, to use after Jamal Williams got injured. Kamara's still suspended. Williams isn't going to play. They're going to have Kendre active. I like Kendre over Tony Jones, but let's do some comparable players here. I know you don't like this guy, so I'm going to put your money where your mouth is. Would you start Najee Harris over Tony Jones?
Man, yes. Even though I don't like Najee, if there's 1 week for Najee, it's gonna be this week. It's the Las Vegas Raiders, excuse me. But he's got a good matchup, and there's ever a time for him to do it. The fact of the matter is, Tony Jones isn't really that home running hitter back either. So they're honestly kind of comparable as far.
So you would start Najee Harris, or would you start?
Yeah, I would start Najee Harris.
Oh, okay. I thought you were saying you wouldn't. Okay. How about Rachaad White, another guy you don't like?
Yeah. I could be willing to roll the dice on Tony Jones. I'm not really liking Rachaad White's matchup.
I disagree entirely on that.
Well, I know you would.
Eagles defense, although they've got names, for whatever reason, they've been letting up a ton.
Right. The secondary
production. Right. No, I understand. Defensive line is very strong, especially the interior defensive line. I'm with you. But it doesn't mean you can't get receptions either.
No, he can't. He might not. But I just think Tony Jones to me has more touchdown upside, so that's why I'd go Tony Jones over Rachaad White. How's that?
Okay. How about Jerome Ford, the fab waiver wire darling that everybody decided to spend all of their money on?
Yeah, you gotta go with Jerome Ford. You spent all the fab for him. He's gonna have a hefty role in this offense. And like you said, Tony Jones, he's more of a question mark. Kendre Miller could be, if he's healthy, will be taking pieces away where Ford is pretty much the guy.
Yeah, well, you're not worried about Kareem Hunt at all?
No, especially not this week. I am not worried about Kareem Hunt at all. This guy, Jerome Ford, already beat Kareem Hunt out in this offseason. That's why I don't really understand why everyone's worried about Kareem Hunt taking things away from Jerome Ford. Like, it's a clear number 1 and number 2 situation. Kareem Hunt doesn't bother me.
I picked up Kareem Hunt in your league just because I think he's going to take over the reins. Maybe not this week, but it'll take time, but he will.
Kareem Hunt does not have enough left in the tank to take over reins in anyone's backfield. Why hasn't? If that was the case, he would have been a Colt or somebody else would have signed him. But they brought him in for workouts and seen that he's got nothing left, and didn't sign him.
So heading over to the stinker of the week for running backs, I'm going to go with Ramondre Stevenson. He had a juicy matchup against the Dolphins last week, and he did not capitalize on it. I really do think the identity of this team is changing under new offensive coordinator Bill O'Brien. Mac Jones has thrown 54 attempts in game one and then 42 attempts in game two. That's a ton of passing attempts. And he's not really getting the receiving volume either. I mean, they just got a lot of options on this team now. So for me, I say sit Ramondre Stevenson. I think he's going to be a stinker.
Yeah, it is interesting. So to put that to the test, Steve. All right, would you start Brian Robinson over Ramondre Stevenson?
I would. I almost had Brian Robinson as my smash play of the week. I know he did what he did against the Broncos, but hey, just like my Bills, they are susceptible to the run. And he is the type of running back that just pounds, and he breaks loose. So I think he could do very well.
All right. Yeah, I Brian Robinson, yeah, he's been looking pretty good. How about Raheem Mostert or Ramondre Stevenson?
This one's tougher for me. Mostert's been doing pretty well volume-wise. Denver, you say, is susceptible against the run. I think I'd go Stevenson, but it's close.
Interesting. Yeah. And the leagues I have, Mostert, I am playing him this week. I think he just broke off a long one against the Patriots last week. I think he's definitely has a chance to break off another long touchdown this week against the Broncos. Are you starting James Cook over Ramondre Stevenson?
That's another tough one for me. I think I'd probably go Ramondre. Commanders have a decent defensive line, so I don't know how good James Cook is going to be. And you saw Latavius Murray and Damian Harris going to involve slightly. I mean, Cook had a great game. Cook is looking really, really good. You've called that early in the season. He's actually been a lot better than I thought he'd be. I think I'd go Stevenson, but it's close.
In a PPR league, I would go with James Cook. That's the one that Commanders are a tough team to run on, but if he gets utilized in that passing game, he could have a leg up there with Ramondre. To your point of Patriots really haven't been targeting Ramondre in the passing game.
So are you enjoying this video so far? Well, if you are, show your support to our new channel by hitting the subscribe button and liking this video. We'll be creating videos all NFL season long, so you're not going to want to miss what we have in store. So going over to the wide receivers, Joe, who is your smash play of the week?
Yeah, my smash play is going to be Zay Flowers. Kind of following up what we did last week, Nico Collins was smash play against the Colts, trying to go back to that matchup and say Zay Flowers against that Colts defense is going to smash this week. And I think looking for Zay Flowers to break out in this game and get 100-plus yards for the first time in his career and possibly get his first touchdown.
I like it as well. Like we talked about, it's a very good matchup, and right now Zay Flowers is the best option, for Lamar Jackson. Obviously Andrew has been talking about receiver-wise. Let's see. Let's put you to the test, Joe. Would you start Zay Flowers over DJ Moore?
Oh, yeah. I'm really concerned about DJ Moore this week. I know he kind of had a bounce back last week against the Buccaneers, but you already saw last week, Calvin Ridley, he had a dud against this Chiefs team last week. And that's Jacksonville Jaguars and Trevor Lawrence. I'm concerned about DJ Moore. He's a risky play for me.
Okay. How about Jalen Waddle versus Denver? Tyreek Hill has been like the guy in Miami. Waddle's been good, but he hasn't been like super great.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Flowers in the matchup. I do think Waddle has more potential to do better against Denver, because I think hopefully the Broncos will have Pat Surtain travel with Tyreek Hill, and if Waddle gets Jamari Mathis, I think Waddle's gonna have a great week as well. But I'll just stick with Zay Flowers over him.
How about T. Higgins going up against the Rams? Don't know if Burrow's going to play, so you've got to start one of them without knowing whether Burrow's going to play.
Yeah, I just think I'm gonna go with Zay Flowers. I think he's got a great ceiling, and I think honestly he's gonna be safer. I don't know with that Browning situation if he does get the start over Joe Burrow, what that's gonna look like. But if Joe Burrow plays, I would still start T Higgins over him.
Yeah, see, I'm playing Zay Flowers over T Higgins. I don't know if Joe Burrow's going to play, and I don't want to take a gamble. I know Flowers. I feel confident Flowers is going to be good. Even if Higgins plays, you don't know. Could it be a Chase game? Could it be a Higgins game? So for me, I personally, I'd rather play Flowers, and I'm with you. I'd rather play him instead of DJ Moore as well. Waddle, that's a tough call, but you go either way.
Yeah, Waddle was a toss up for me.
So going over to my sleeper pick for wide receivers, I'm going to go with George Pickens. In his first game without Deontay Johnson, he had 10 targets, which amounted to a 34% target share for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now he's playing the Raiders on a primetime game. Of course, the Steelers get another primetime game. Don't know if I necessarily want to see that offense play because they're not that great. But I think Pickens is the bright spot, and the Raiders have a brutal secondary.
Yeah, apparently so far the NFL has wanted us to suffer with these primetime games. We got the Steelers and Raiders, and then two stinkers on Monday night again as well. So it's definitely a rough stretch. But um, put things to the test for you here, Steve. Would you be starting Mike Williams over George Pickens?
No, 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 no. I mean, it's a juicy matchup. That's the only thing. Minnesota, we know, is a horrible secondary, but Keenan seems to be the guy. Although I did think Quentin Johnson would be more involved, and he really hasn't been. So maybe it's more of a toss-up than I think. I just think he's going to get a higher target volume and a higher target share percentage. So I like Pickens.
Yeah, I'd go Pickens as well. How about DK Metcalf or George Pickens?
Metcalf's going up against Carolina. We know J.C. Horn's on IR. So, but they played okay last week against the Saints. They've got a few options. He's banged up with the ribs. I think I'd go Pickens. Maybe I'm nuts, but I like the ceiling there for him.
Yeah, I don't think you're nuts with taking Pickens over Metcalf. How about in tonight's game here? How about Debo Samuel or George Pickens?
Well, no, you got to go Debo. I mean, I don't like Debo very much, but with Ayuk out of the game, I mean, it's it's really it's him and then Kittle, to my surprise, with Purdy hasn't really taken off. So no, you got to go with Debo.
Yeah, yeah, I like your sleeper pick of Pickens this week. Not I wouldn't do it over Debo Samuel, but in general, I like it against the Raiders. And the one, like you said, the one thing I liked about it is Pickens without Deontay Johnson wasn't the one trick pony. They actually allowed him to run some slants, and it wasn't just all those deep plays. And you saw he housed the one, which looked pretty impressive.
So going over to your stinker for wide receiver, Joe, who is it?
Yeah, my stinker receiver position, I'm going to go with DeAndre Hopkins. DeAndre Hopkins came into last week with an ankle injury, still managed to play 60% of snaps, had 4 catches for 40 yards. But the Titans have the third worst wide receiver matchup, according to the PFF strength of schedule tool. And the Browns have allowed the second fewest fantasy points at wide receiver position this season thus far.
Interesting. I don't like hearing this, Joe, because you know me. I like Hopkins this year. Has not
Yeah.
showed up like I thought he would, but Tannehill has not been great by any means. So, would you start Hopkins over Jerry Judy?
That's interesting.
I
I'll take
have both. I have both on my team, so
yeah.
I'm interested to hear what you have to say.
I think I'll take the flyer on Jerry Judy. He was on a snap count last week. It'll be interesting to see who Xavier Howard's covers. I don't know whether he's going to cover Sutton or Judy in this offense, but I think Judy, now that he's got the 1 week under his belt, Broncos are going to need him to score some points this week. I think he gets a little more involved than last week.
I'm with you. I lean Judy, but it's close.
It definitely is close. Trust me, I'm not high on Judy this week by any means.
How about one of my guys who haven't panned out yet, Jahan Dotson?
Yeah, that's been a true bummer. I'll take the flyer on DeAndre Hopkins over him. I right now I'm almost on a wait and see it approach with Jahan Dotson. It's just frustrating. I know the potential's there, but the one thing that's concerning is, he was getting those 15 yards, air yards down the field. Now he's at about 9 for the ADOT, and that's concerning me. I don't really like it.
Yeah, I agree with you. I would not go with Jahan Dotson. I'd go with Hopkins. Let's go with the third guy here. How about Drake London? A guy you and I don't really like very much.
Yeah. Even though I don't like him, I think I would go with Drake London over DeAndre Hopkins.
Wow.
He showed a little something last week. He got a touchdown. Lions, without CJ Gardner-Johnson now, I think he could do something there.
Interesting. Yeah, no, I for me personally, I'm going Hopkins all the way. I don't trust, in my opinion, I hear what you're saying, but I just don't really trust Arthur Smith. I feel like Hopkins is a better value.
Yeah, I like London's matchup better, so I'll go London.
So head over to the tight ends, my smash play of the weekend, and get ready. I'm going to talk out of two sides of my mouth here. I'm going with the smash play as Kyle Pitts. If there's any time for Kyle Pitts to smash, it's going to be this week, I would think. Detroit Lions have allowed a top 3 as far as tight ends go. So they have scored quite a good amount against the Lions. I expect somewhat of a shootout here. Falcons have been competitive. Lions have been competitive. So I think it's going to be a back and forth game. And really with the tight end position, you only need to get in the end zone to be any good. So I think at the end of the day, I think this could, who knows, right? I mean, he's the ultimate athletic freak. If he's going to smash, you're really happy. This is a matchup where I'm like, if I have Pitts, I'm throwing the dart. Other matchups, if it wasn't good, I'd be okay sitting him. But in this matchup, you got to start him.
Yeah, I agree. And if Kyle Pitts doesn't smash in this matchup, I would drop him. Because if he can't smash against this Lions team and then take advantage of this matchup and the Falcons don't utilize him in order to smash, I would just cut him.
You wouldn't try to trade him, or you just think it wouldn't be worth the hassle trying to see if I
just don't know what value he even has at this point. I mean, he's been a complete disappointment thus far, once again, through 2 weeks. And then if he can't smash against the Lions, I don't know who's going to want him. But as far as let's see how much your confidence is this week in Kyle Pitts as your smash play. Are you starting Travis Kelce or Kyle Pitts?
Oh no, I'm starting Travis Kelce 100%. Yeah. I know he's been banged up. He says now his knee is healthy. You start Kelce.
Yeah. How about Mark Andrews or Kyle Pitts?
No, you got to start Andrews. I think Andrews hasn't been that impressive either, to be honest with you. But you got to start him.
Yeah, and then the game that's about to kick off here shortly. Are you starting Darren Waller or Kyle Pitts?
If I'm chasing the points, I'm going to go Pitts. If I feel like I need a better floor, I'm going to go with Waller.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
So how about the sleeper, Joe? Who do you got for tight ends?
All right. For my sleeper, I am going with Dalton Schultz. I feel like Schultz has been the forgotten man in this Houston offense. All the hype is going towards Nico Collins and Little Tank Dell. But Schultz had 7 targets last week and caught 4 of them for 34 yards. I know that's not impressive, but this tight end landscape has been, quite the crapshoot here this year. And, he had 4 targets in week 1 and he jumped to 7 in week 2. I think he continues to build on it this week. The Texans have the 4th best tight end matchup, according to PFF. And yeah, I just think I like the potential this week for Schultz.
That's an interesting, a sneaky play there. Would you play him over my guy, Pat Freiermuth?
Oh, man. I would not play him over Pat Freiermuth. I think
okay. Even though he's gotten 8 yards on the season?
He's had 5 total yards on the season. But I think the matchup against the Raiders, this is the time for Pat Freiermuth to possibly excel. But if not, I'm similar to Kyle Pitts. I'm going to be possibly looking to move off of Freiermuth at this point.
Wow. Interesting. How about Kyle Pitts?
Interesting. Kyle Pitts.
Or Dalton Schultz.
Yeah, I'm going Kyle Pitts. He has the best matchup at tight end this week, compared to Schultz at the fourth. So I would roll on Kyle Pitts.
Okay, and then how about Hunter Henry at the Jets? He's been a sleeper and he's continuing to do well. Does he stay in the end zone?
No, I would start. I'll take my sleeper over Hunter Henry. The Jets defense, that defensive line will give them fits, and then they have good linebackers. I have faith that they could cover up Henry this week.
Yeah, I'm with you. I would definitely start Schultz over Henry. Don't think he'll get the the trifecta there. And with Kyle Pitts, you got to start him. As for my stinker of the week, it's going to be Dallas Goedert. He's only had 8 targets on the year. Buccaneers are middle of the road when it comes to tight ends, but they've got solid linebackers. And so as a result, with Devin White and Levante David, I think they could cover pretty well. I think we've talked about this a little bit. The Eagles' offense is looking a little bit shaky when it comes to, with Shane Steichen leaving, going to the Colts. So I don't know. I'm not really liking how this is looking.
Yeah, I can't blame you. It's not looking good for Goddard, and just this Philly offense as a whole just seems lost, with this whole coordinator change. We'll see if they did have a longer week to prepare. They coming up the Thursday night game. We'll see if they get things together. But would you be starting Chig Okonkwo over Dallas Goedert?
No, you gotta start Dallas Goedert. You drafted him high for a reason. Chig has really done nothing. I think you definitely gotta. I mean, Chig probably is on your wire right now at this point.
Yeah, very true. How about Dawson Knox or Kincaid? Yeah, most likely Kincaid. I don't think Knox is going to play this week.
Oh, I'm definitely playing Kincaid. Kincaid. If I considered putting him as my smash play, but that would have been too much for the brand. So no, I love Kincaid. I definitely am playing him.
You needed to have Kincaid as your smash. That would have been right with the world.
Well, I mean, I did say I like Pickens and I like Kincaid. I've been pounding the table for these guys. It hasn't shown up yet. Hopefully, it'll show up.
Yeah, it definitely could show up. I mean, Kincaid's gotten a decent target share the last couple of weeks, and that's with Knox on the field. So, but going to the last one here, how about David Njoku or Dallas Goedert?
Oh, I'm going to start Njoku, actually. I wonder if he's going to get more targets just based on this offense, based on, Chubb. Like we said, it's trying to figure out the identity of this team. I know they have Ford and Hunt, but, I think I'm going to go Njoku. It's tight. It's tight. But I don't know. I feel like it's one or the other. What do you think?
Yeah, it is tight. I think if you're chasing points, I'd go Njoku. I think he's got the higher ceiling at this point. What was frustrating was watching that Monday night game last week. You saw Njoku have that show it off his athleticism, took that short pass and cut it upfield, broke a couple of tackles, and then it was like they went away from him. I'm like, where is more of that? But I feel like that's been the frustration for Njoku owners for years.
Joe, to round out the show, what is your stack of the week? We're picking a quarterback and a receiver that we think are both going to do very, very well.
Yeah, no surprise here. My stack of the week is going to be Lamar Jackson and Zay Flowers. If you've been with us this whole time, both of my smash plays at quarterback and wide receiver, so why not make it my stack?
Yeah, no, I think this is going to be the week that we see Jackson. This, both of them having both of them in your lineup could cause you to get the win this week. I think it could be that, that big of a week for those guys. My stack of the week, and this is a little bit nuts on my part, although I said not to start Deshaun Watson, but I had to give something that's a little bit different. Let's go with Deshaun Watson and Amari Cooper. Tennessee Titans secondary is abysmal. These corners are bad. And so as a result, you saw, Watson target Cooper quite a lot. I actually thought Elijah Moore would be a lot more involved on this team. He really hasn't been. So that's an under-the-radar stack. I tried to do something a little bit against the grain. I would have easily been able to go with Herbert and Allen, against the Vikings. But that's my under-the-radar stack.
Yeah, I don't hate it. Could pay off. I mean, we just watched, Herbert and Allen pick them apart last week. So it could pan out. I am surprised about Elijah Moore, but I thought it was interesting. They've had him kind of lined up in the backfield a little bit, but he's been out there. Watson's been targeting him, but they're just not always catchable to Elijah Moore.
So that's our starts and sits for week 3. Hopefully you found this helpful. And if you did, we encourage you to come on out next Thursday. We will be live again around 7 o'clock p.m. to answer all your questions related to who you should start and sit. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time.